8:11 the time, Tuesday edition of the Mornings with Ed show on the all-new voice of Laguna. Welcome to the program here. Delighted that you're with us this morning. So, in the last several years, marijuana purchasing, marijuana smoking, gotten a lot more mainstream, let's say. 25, 30 years ago, in order just to score some weed, you'd have to sit in a parked car in a dark alley at 3 in the morning and risk getting stabbed in the neck just for a nickel bag. That's not the case anymore. Now, you go to a dispensary. It's clean. First of all of the products are nicely laid out, and there's informative people there to tell you the difference between this and that, and what might work for you medicinally, what might not work for you if you need to sleep. All of those different things, all of those factors are happening now. There's also more studies being done. And one study says that older adults who don't smoke tobacco but do use marijuana were at higher risk of both heart attack and stroke when hospitalized. So while people who use marijuana daily were 34% more likely to develop heart failure, according to two new non-published studies presented just yesterday at the American Heart Monday at yesterday at the American Heart Association scientific sessions in Philadelphia. Observational data are strongly pointing to the fact that cannabis use at any point in time, whether it's recreational or medicinal, might lead to the development of cardiovascular disease. This is according to Robert Page, who's the chair of the volunteer writing group for the 2020 American Heart Association scientific statement called Medical Marijuana, Recreational Cannabis, and Cardiovascular Health. Whew, that was a mouthful. This gentleman was not involved in either of the new studies. So the AHA, for better, let's just shorten it up, recommendations advise people refrain from smoking or vaping any substance, including cannabis products, because of the potential harm to the heart, lungs, and blood vessels. They say the latest research about cannabis use indicates that smoking and inhaling cannabis increases concentrations of blood carboxyhemoglobin, a carbon monoxide. It's a poisonous gas. It also increases tar. It's partly burned combustible matter. It's similar to the effects of inhaling a tobacco cigarette, both of which have been linked to heart muscle disease, chest pain, heart rhythm disturbances, heart attacks, and other serious conditions. So you need to treat this just like you would any other risk factor for heart disease or stroke, and honestly understand the risks that you were taking. Marijuana use is on the rise among older adults. A 2020 study found the numbers of American seniors over the age of 65 who now smoke marijuana or use edibles increased twofold between 2015 to 2018. A 2023 study earlier this year found past month binge drinking and marijuana use among the over 65 crowd rose by 450% between 2015 and 2019. Marijuana users develop a dependence on weed called cannabis use disorder. A person is considered dependent on weed when they feel food cravings or a lack of appetite, irritability, restlessness, and mood and sleep difficulties after quitting. Marijuana use becomes an addiction when a person is unable to quit using weed, even though it interferes with many aspects of their life. So chronic conditions and weed, tie them together. Older adults often develop a number of chronic conditions by age 65, which appear to make the impact of marijuana worse. This is according to one of the studies that examined hospital records for adults over 65 with cannabis use disorder who did not smoke tobacco. What's unique about that study is that patients who were using tobacco were excluded because cannabis and tobacco are sometimes used together. Therefore, they were able to specifically examine cannabis use and cardiovascular outcomes. Researchers found the 8,500 adults who abused weed had a 20% higher risk of having a major heart or brain event while hospitalized, compared to over 10 million older hospitalized adults who did not use marijuana. Both abusers and non-users had already been diagnosed with high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, or high cholesterol. That's an important thing to remember. Let's say that again. Both the abusers and the non-users had already been diagnosed with something like high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, or high cholesterol. The study found that having high blood pressure readings of over 130 over 80 and high cholesterol were key predictors of major adverse heart and brain events in the marijuana users. So we know that acute use can lead to a drop in blood pressure, and therefore, particularly when it's vaped or when it's smoked or combusted. And so therefore, that plays into the understanding the potential risk for stroke. But what's interesting is if you look at individuals who've used cannabis daily over very long periods of time, it's actually been associated with an increase in blood pressure, which is also a risk factor for numerous other cardiovascular conditions. So a second study presented followed nearly 160,000 adults with a median age of 54 for about 4 years. And they followed them around to see if the use of cannabis would impact their risk of developing heart failure. Heart failure doesn't mean the heart has stopped working, but that the heart isn't pumping oxygenated blood as well as it should. At the end of the study, researchers found people who reported daily marijuana use had a 34% increased risk of developing heart failure compared to those who reported never using marijuana. Age, sex at birth, and smoking history did not appear to impact the risk, and the researchers did not know if the marijuana was smoked or eaten. A study published earlier this year also found using marijuana every day can raise a person's risk of coronary artery disease by 1/3 compared with those who never partake. Coronary artery disease is caused by plaque buildup in the walls of the arteries that supply blood to the heart. Arterial sclerosis, right? CAD is the most common type of heart disease. This is according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Prior research shows links between marijuana use and cardiovascular disease like coronary artery disease, heart failure, and atrial fibrillation, which is known to cause heart failure. This study is worth continuing to study. Dr. Yakunu Bene Althizan, a resident physician at MedStar Health in Baltimore, was the lead author of the heart failure study in this. So whatever your daily habits are, whatever your daily smoking habits are or edible habits, know the risk. 8:18 the time.
The most important conversations, the best entertainment, the Mornings with Ed show on the Voice of Laguna.
Oh, make me